Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Star Trek Voyager, Season 4, Episode 6, Raven. First of all, this episode was directed by LeVar Burton, aka Geordi LaForge, and that's great. He directs episodes all throughout the rest of the series, including one of my favorites, which I won't spoil, although some of you could probably guess what it is. This episode primarily focuses on Seven, who is still, it's a very early for her character, and we're still kind of getting used to her, so I'm totally down for it, and this does kind of give a little bit of a backstory. Overall, I wouldn't say this is a great story, but I wouldn't say it's a bad story. It's a pretty good one, though. First of all, it's about Seven having dreams about all sorts of stuff going on, other Borgs and a giant black bird, stuff's going on. She is also able, when she goes to see the doctor's like, oh, you can eat food now. So that's kind of a sign of how her humanity is still growing, how she's still processing, because she hasn't, I think it was the last episode or the episode before, where she says, like, oh, I don't need to consume food. I just, re-energize in my alcove. So she goes and sees Neelix, which she identifies as Talaxian, aka Species 218, which already I took a step back. I was like, that's really interesting. I'm down for this. I have not done any research in this, so let me just start with that. But I kind of want to look and see all of the Borg designations for species, because I think that'd be super interesting. Now, we know the Borg originated in the Delta Quadrant, and we know Talaxians are from the Delta Quadrant, so it would make sense that they're such a low-numbered species that they're 218th species that had been assimilated. Totally makes sense. I find it interesting. Compared to, I think they're currently on species, 3572, whatever it is. 2572. I don't know. It's in the thousands. So anyways, I think that's super interesting that she immediately knows that. I really liked it. So we see her kind of eat real food. And then in the meantime, Voyager is kind of discussing this treaty with another species because it would take 3 months to go around their space. And they're like, okay, so you can go through our space, but you have to go through this course, which keeps you away from our systems. You have to go at warp 3. You can't talk to anybody. Every so many days we have to inspect you. And Janeway's like, it's going to take longer to go through your space than it would to go around it. And in the meantime, Seven starts getting these flashes and being drawn to a homing beacon. And so, basically Seven goes crazy. And, they try to, shoot her on stun, but her shields activate, and all sorts of stuff is going on. She steals a shuttle, which, again, this alien species that we're talking to is not having it. So she's going off, and Tuvok goes after her and is basically able to beam aboard her shuttle. And she's like, Vulcan, species 3259. And again, I'm like, that's amazing, because I'm curious what humans are, because it's just interesting to me that that's how many species they've done. 3572. Yeah, so, considering they may not have gotten a Vulcan since, Wolf 359 or somewhere abouts there, it's definitely been within the last 10 years, I'm presuming. So I think that's pretty interesting. So she's talking to Tuvok, and she's like, no, I'm being drawn to a homing beacon. And Tuvok's like, there's no beacons, there's no Borg around here. And she's like, you're wrong. And so they land on a moon. In the meantime, Janeway is going through Seven's personal logs, and Harry's like, yeah, there's a lot of mentions of me, which is kind of a shout out to the last episode, and just about all the different stuff. Well, and especially the dreams of a large black bird. And Janeway's like, why is she dreaming about crows? Well, it's not a crow, it's a raven. And Janeway knows that her parents' ship, the Federation ship that was given to them, was named the Raven. So she starts looking for it. They find it on this planet. And it turns out that this is the place that her parents crash landed, and the Borg assimilated her and her parents, which again, I find super interesting, but I'm a little annoyed because how did this ship get to the Delta Quadrant? I'm really hoping that's answered later on, so if you guys already know and I just don't remember, don't spoil it, just be like, you'll get your answer soon. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that this is the ship where it all happened, and we start seeing flashbacks of young Annika and her parents and her papa and stuff like that. And overall, I thought it was a really good episode. It was a good setup for more character for Seven. Seven's one of my favorite characters. I hate to say this, but I'm kind of glad we moved away from Kes and we're moving into Seven. But I'm really excited to kind of see where this path leads. So for those who have seen this one, what did you guys think? Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time for The Scientific Method.